Hi, I'm Kenny Hill with Recovery Hill. So, the first image you should have seen is the 5 pillar slide. So, those 5 pillars are what we're going to cover within these series of videos. This series is going to be heavy laden with a lot of education. So, before we do that, let's properly put out that disclaimer footage. Now, with that disclaimer, I want to add one additional disclaimer. I want to bring attention to the highly nuanced human condition. Whenever people seem to put out content that is black and white within thinking, right and wrong within thinking, or it's structural in some way, that this 5 pillars has some sense of structure to it. Whenever there's that type of pattern or something put out, eventually somebody says that's totally off and that's wrong because of X, Y, and Z. And oftentimes they're right. And the person that put out the information seems like a quackadoodle later on. So I don't want to be a quackadoodle. I just made that word up, quackadoodle. So I don't want to be that guy. This information may evolve in 10 or 15 years from now, and there may be more added to this. But I think at its core, at its base, this is pretty structural. This information, for the most part, has been around since 1943. It's just kind of been altered a little bit, and I've managed to take some liberty with it and to try to help structure it in a way that I feel like is helpful for my clients. So let's get into it. Abraham Maslow first had a theory of human basic needs, and that began to come out somewhere around 1943. Then, somewhere around 1953, Bill Wilson came out with his own version of these needs called the 3 basic instincts and the 12 and 12, otherwise known as the 12 steps and 12 traditions. And that was followed by perhaps the most well defined version in 1965 ish by William Glasser in choice theory. So, the following 5 pillars is my best attempt at integrating nuance, practicality, and research based modern psychology. This has been no small feat, so let's go. So, as we roll into these 5 pillars, I want to first read a quote from Bill W. and what he put in the 12 and 12. I want you to know Bill W. was not a trained psychologist, that none of that stuff. He was simply an alcoholic. Nearly every serious emotional problem can be seen as a case of misdirected instinct. When that happens, our great natural assets, the instincts, have turned into physical and mental liabilities. One of the primary reasons why I love some of the writings of Bill Wilson is it really talks about how a person can be really attuned to their own conditions, find a lot of answers about their own psychology without any training. One thing I really want to preface that's perhaps different about these pillars from other people's models is that they are not a hierarchy. You do not achieve one thing within a pillar and then somehow graduate into a new pillar or a new stage. That's not how these work. These pillars are interdependent and cohesive. And actually, a better term for them would be heterarchy. From the Encyclopedia Britannica's definition of heterarchy: form of management or rule in which any unit can govern or be governed by others, depending on circumstance, and hence no one unit dominates the rest. Authority within a heterarchy is distributed. So that's how I want you to think about these pillars. There is not one pillar that dominates the others or is in a leadership role. They all really focus in on their particular skill set. So think of it as a basketball team where there's 5 members of the basketball team. Each member of the basketball team has its particular skill set. This guy is really good at rebounding. This guy is really good at passing. This guy is really good at shooting. This guy is really good at going down into the blocks. And this guy, I don't know, this guy hangs out on the wing and shoots threes or something. I don't know. But everybody focuses on their specific skill set. Nobody tries to blend into any specific skill set. I'm just realizing as I'm saying this, maybe this would make a really terrible basketball team. But within the pillars, each one has its own specific area of expertise. So when you have all five and they all are focusing on their one area of expertise, they actually all elevate each other as doing so. They all are very cohesive. One doesn't have to worry about taking care of the other because they don't have that skill set, so they don't want to take care of the other. This one focuses on its job over here. This one focuses on its job over here. The hierarchy model makes me think something about like when I was a kid playing Mario Brothers or something, and you would kind of and you'd go into the tunnel and finish the level and sink down. It would have some song melody that would have you play and go into the next level, and then you would have a new level. Well, that's not how we work as human beings. We are too highly nuanced, as I mentioned before.